Well, we all know that he doesn't sleep. I'm not a big sleeper either. So, I, on occasion, I close my eyes if someone's talking for too long. I admit it.
Donald Trump's deteriorating health situation is of serious concern to Republicans. For Republicans, both the House and the Senate and just Republican insiders in general. And the reason I know is because of all of the noise they're making, trying to justify his sleeping in meetings for minutes and minutes at a time, either explaining it away or trying to justify it, or acting as though it's not happening. And the more aggressively they kick against reality means there is something going on. There is a swirling tempest inside the Republican Party of concern about exactly what is taking place. Because without Donald Trump, is there really even a Republican Party? Yesterday, Senator from Kansas, Roger Marshall, went on Newsmax to tip this entire thing off. And I've got several clips here of just from yesterday and then one from last week. But just from yesterday of the Republican Party, the machinery, the propaganda machine, standing up an operation to try to justify Donald Trump's clear cognition problem, but also the physicality issue of him just being unable to stay awake after having called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe for years. Here we are with sleepy Donald Trump, and the Republican Party just doesn't know which way to turn. Here is Roger Marshall on Newsmax.
Get your reaction to this. The president's recent reveal that he received a cardiac MRI during his checkup at Walter Reed. Now, the legacy media, immediately jumped to question his health. I'm an older guy. My doctor ordered me to get an MRI, a cardiac MRI. I still haven't done it yet, so I need to get on that. But it's standard practice. To me, they ignored Joe Biden for years, and now they are just grasping at straws. Can you kind of shed some light on this? This is really normal, isn't it, for older guys?
I think it's a normal executive level type of checkup. If you went to the best wellness centers in the country, they're going to order that on people probably over the age of 65. And by the way, we all have some atherosclerosis already starting to build up, some aging process, just like you would see arthritis in the joints. But I can tell you, my interactions with the president, I'm a pretty hard worker. I'll work 100, 110 hours a week. He outworks me. He's the first person I've ever known that works harder than I do. He runs around that golf course. He goes through staff members, several groups of them each day. He's in incredible shape right now. And you talk about sharp. He's playing four-dimensional chess right now, with time being that fourth dimension. He's in great shape. I've always joked, Senator, that President Trump's the only person I know that's more likely to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning than he is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. No doubt. We're on Trump time now. Yeah, we are. Thank you. Thank you very much.
What is with these just weird liars? Roger Marshall this is an aside, but Roger Marshall would have you believe that he works 110 hours per week. And Donald Trump works even more. I'm a pretty hard worker, he says. I'll work 110 hours a week. He outworks me. Roger Marshall, fuck off. You don't work 110 hours a week. You're a United States senator who doesn't work weekends, for one. Secondly, if you were to work, let's just take it on the face of it, you weird liar, and say you did work 110 hours a week. On a 5-day work week, we know you don't work on the weekends. That would mean you're working 22 hours a day. 16 and a third hours a day if it was a 6-day work week. And if it was a 7-day work week, I did the math, by the way, because I am terrible at math. 15 and 3/4 hours, 7-day work week. But we know you work 5 days, so you're saying you work 22 hours a day, and Donald Trump works more than you. He's the first person I've ever known that works harder than I do. He runs around that golf course. He carts around the golf course, sir. He goes through staff members, several groups of them a day. He's in incredible shape right now. And you talk about sharp. He's playing four-dimensional chess right now. The more bold the lie and the tale, that's where the rub is. That's how you know just how concerned they are. When they are unconcerned with looking like fools in their desperate attempt to justify Donald Trump, it tells you everything you need to know. Laura Ingraham did the same thing. Roger Marshall, I believe, is a physician, by the way, as scary as that is. Laura Ingraham on her show had the Mark Siegel or whatever his name is. He just wrote a book about how wonderful Trump is. He's a physician also. She had him on to talk about it. And again, they just papered over all of the problems that we see, those of us who view the world through a reality lens, and they do not.
Well, we all know that he doesn't sleep. I'm not a big sleeper either. So, on occasion, I close my eyes if someone's talking for too long. I admit it. But big deal. I mean, the results speak for themselves. What President Trump does on a daily basis. If you sleep 3 hours or 4 hours a night, you're probably going to close your eyes, whether you're 79 or 49. I don't think that matters.
Yeah, President Trump, Thomas Edison believed in the 10-minute nap, by the way. What would they say? We wouldn't have electricity, right?
Oh, my goodness. Well, Dr. Siegel, we will continue to see them fixate on this after everything they did to cover for Joe.
All right. Aside from the electricity idiocy, we wouldn't have electricity if not for Thomas. Do you think Thomas Edison invented electricity? You think he invented electricity? Donald Trump's not just closing his eyes for a short period, just like a couple of seconds. It's not like a long blink, Laura Ingraham, and you know that. I've got a clip I'm going to play in a later topic where Marco Rubio is talking to Donald Trump, gesturing to Donald Trump. That's a minute and a half long almost, and Donald Trump is asleep the entire time. It's not a micro nap of 5 seconds. It's not a long blink. Come on. Well, you will not be surprised to learn that Jesse Waters, the pencil-necked, sausage-armed alpha man, he also has some things to say about Donald Trump sleeping. And it's not reality-based. It is not rational. It is not reasonable. It is not dealing with reality on reality's terms, as you would expect with ass kiss. We'll keep it PG. I'm getting too many emails about, all right, keep it together with all the crassness. So, I'll try. Here's Jesse Waters, the man who still has not taken me up on my challenge to he and Stephen Miller to have me box both of them at the same time in a charity boxing match. No surprise there. Here's Jesse Waters.
Biden called a lid by one every day. Trump's working 12-hour shifts. The Oval Office logs show that he clocked in 50-hour work weeks last month. It's more than Greg. And he still had time to post 160 times last night. How does he sleep? The sweet sounds of pile drivers are driving Melania crazy.
How does he sleep? I think we know how he sleeps, comfortably and well during meetings in the middle of the day. We know how he sleeps. And then there's this, I will remind you, this is from last week, where the Fox anchor not only talks about Donald Trump being a machine, but also that he never sleeps.
The New York Times claiming that he's slowed down and he's showing signs of fatigue. Americans see Mr. Trump less than they used to. He has fewer public events on his schedule and is traveling domestically much less than he did by this point during his first year in office, although he is taking more foreign trips. He also keeps a shorter public schedule than he used to. Most of his public appearances fall between noon and 5 p.m. on average. Well, the man is almost 80, but he's also a machine. I mean, he barely sleeps, he works around the clock, and he constantly talks to the press. And meanwhile, Biden always slept, worked sometimes, and never talked to the press unless they're asking him about ice cream flavors. But some people are still living in opposite world when it comes to these two presidents.
President Biden was active on the weekends, especially riding his bike in Rehoboth Beach. No one denied that with President Biden, that he had his moments of being 80 or 82, whatever it was. In this case, the White House is not willing to even acknowledge that the president is showing obvious signs of age-related decline. One, he might take trips overseas in Air Force One. That doesn't substitute for the lack of physical activity. There's a reason to be worried based on his public performance.
Well, Biden also fell off that stationary bike. So here to discuss it is Clay Travis, Outkick founder and Fox News contributor.
And as I talked about yesterday, as I demonstrated just the other day with images and video of Donald Trump with his droopy stroke mouth and falling asleep while people are talking to him in meetings, including Dr. Oz, we know this is not the case. So Republicans, they are, I would say, up in arms, but they are alarmed within themselves in private meetings. To be sure, they're talking about contingency plans. What happens when Jesse Dollemore is right and Donald Trump drops dead within the next year? I mean, he's already dropping dead momentarily during meetings. It's only a matter of time until we wake up to breaking news headlines all over the world that Donald Trump is no longer with us. And they need a plan for that. Who's it going to be? I mean, obviously, through continuity, through the 25th Amendment, it will be J.D. Vance. But what are they going to do going forward into the future relative to their party? Because Donald Trump is, as I've said, he is the party. He is the Republican Party. The base is going to lose interest without a Trump. They're going to lose interest without the guy who's tweeting on his Truth Social platform hundreds of times in the middle of the night like a deranged lunatic. The drama will be over. The NASCARization of the Republican Party will be complete, and they won't have a leader. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage.
The other remarkable moment from yesterday's cabinet meeting, that is like every other cabinet meeting where they go around the horn and kiss Donald Trump's ass in succession. It's almost like a competition to see who can pucker up the tightest and really attach and affix their lips to the asshole of Donald Trump. Yesterday, Donald Trump put on a display of racism, the likes of which, to use Donald Trump terms, we really haven't witnessed from him publicly in quite a while. He just jettisoned himself, just propelled himself into an attack on Ilhan Omar with vile racism about her being garbage and all her friends being garbage, and that the country, her country stinks. Her country, being a citizen of the United States, is America for that matter. But I want to talk about this. And so I brought in an expert on dealing with the assholery of Donald Trump, the logical leftist, none other than Mr. Jeff Waldorf. Jeff, thanks for joining me today.
Hello there. Thank you for inviting me to.
Yeah, listen, I figured you could share the load of the excrement that is coming out of Donald Trump's mouth, so I don't have to bear it alone. Did you watch this yesterday?
I did.
Were you, sir, surprised by this?
Let's just say I was not having Pikachu face over it.
I don't know what that means, but let's move on. Well, I do talk about this a lot, that the people who, Adam Johnson wrote a piece, the title of which I think is the tyranny of the not surprised guy. Being a YouTuber yourself with a YouTube channel, again, the logical leftist, you probably have seen this response from people where they say, well, is anybody surprised by this? Why are you surprised? As though we need to be surprised by something to talk about something that is important. Mm-hmm. I maintain we should hold on to our outrage, onto our shock about things that are not surprising. And this is one of those moments. He got differently aggressive and racist publicly than he normally does. And I think this can be chalked up to his declining mental state, to his declining physical state, that he's regressing back to the most comfortable position that he can hold, and that is vile, venomous, vitriolic racism. Let's start with the first clip, and then we will move from there, and I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott, I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country.
First of all, nobody said that's not politically correct. Like, he's using language from the 90s. What's your beat on this, Jeff?
Well, first, I want to go back to what you were saying about surprise and, shock and outrage. And I think those are not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? But at the same time, it's like, even though I'm not surprised at the just amount of vitriolic racism that spews forth from his tiny, purse little butthole mouth, okay?
It is a purse little butthole mouth, too.
Yes, because that's what it looks like, Okay, but anyway, I'm sorry to subject your audience to that as well. But
no, they're used to
again,
it. They
if you already
listen to me all
sat
the
through a
time.
Trump clip, then you know it's coming.
Yeah.
But the outrage is there. I mean, he is denigrating Ilhan Omar, who is absolutely a brilliant congresswoman, very, very strong, very social justice motivated, which is probably why she, he hates her. One of the reasons, other reason, of course, is that she is black. Let's be honest with that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we got the racism angle, which is just absolutely disgusting. But let's go to the arguments that he made, about the Somalians, the Somali refugees in Minnesota, because he's absolutely wrong about all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Totally wrong. Again, most of the people that are there are either citizens, permanent residents, or hold other, legal status. And so none of them are, because that he's going to go to the undocumented angle as well. I mean, it's always in the subtext, right? They don't belong here.
Right.
They're either illegal or Trump's going to do something to make them illegal, which he is already in the process, I believe, of doing, if not having already done, taking away, refugee and protected status from Somali migrants. But again, all of what he says is absolutely wrong. I know that right-wing media is obsessed with you see, they're doing fraud, welfare fraud, pandemic relief fraud, which is funny because you had a lot of right-wingers and big companies involved in, what is it? Paycheck protection fraud. Didn't have to pay back any of it. Used all that money and then, fired people and then juiced their own stock portfolios from it by buying back their own stocks. So, I mean, there's all sorts of fraud there, and it ain't Somali migrants that have done that. Okay. And of course, the other thing is, the other claim here is that, they're funding terror networks. Like they're funding Al-Shabaab. No, they're not. They're sending money back to their families. And that's the thing. You have to have money to send back to your family, right? And you know what? Somali migrants, these refugees, they have been getting into white collar jobs, making good money, becoming teachers, becoming business owners, helping the economy. I remember talking about, and I know this is different, a different group of people, Haitians in Springfield, Ohio.
Right. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs, the pets of the people who live there. Yeah.
Which they're not.
Of course they weren't.
And what they actually did is when they went into Springfield, they revitalized the area. They revitalized the economy.
Local leaders said as much.
Yeah. They raised wages. They spurred on the building of new homes. And yes, of course, there's negative effects in that as well. Like, how home prices went up, and some people complained about that. That's what happens when you grow an economy, that sometimes, especially in our country, our economy tends to leave some people behind. Okay. But overall, in Springfield, the Haitian community helped greatly.
Yeah, what I notice here so stark is just the projection of this. Like, he's claiming that he's watched her complain about the Constitution, the same Constitution that he has said on True Social he has every right to cancel, to terminate all rules and articles up to and including the Constitution of the United States. He says she hates the country. This coming from a guy who says that the people of Ohio are stupid. We're stupid. Our leaders are. He constantly denigrates the United States. I've never heard, by the way, her ever complain about the Constitution. I've never heard her complain about how unfairly she's treated. I have heard Donald Trump complain about how unfairly he's treated constantly, about how bad America is, how stupid Americans are. And then for him to say that she hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. The biggest hater in American politics today is, in fact, Donald Trump. And I think that's self-evident even for MAGA. The other thing, and then I want to move on to the second clip, is that they ripped off they ripped off the Somalians. They ripped off the state for billions of dollars. Donald Trump is currently undergoing the largest grift in American history from the Oval Office of the White House, getting hundreds of millions of dollars worth of planes from Qatar and having his crypto nonsense completely funded by foreign nations in violation of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, which he claims to love and she hates, I guess. It just, none of it rings in with a reality lens at all.
Right.
Go ahead.
Add, too, that he is, and you said, too, he's violating the Emoluments Clause. He also is violating people's due process.
Yeah.
Okay. Ordering the violation of due process and also going after people, attacking service members, congressmen who say to the military, hey, don't follow illegal orders, because that's what you're not supposed to follow illegal orders. So don't do it. Do your job. Follow the Constitution, follow the laws of the land. But Trump doesn't believe in the laws of this country. He does not believe in this country at all. He believes that everything serves him and him alone.
He has said as much to Janet Mills, the mayor or the governor of Maine, that he is the law. He thinks he is the law. So let's get to the second clip. It kind of shifted. I broke it up into two parts because the first part mainly dealt with denigrating through racism Ilhan Omar. And the second really is more pouring hate and racism on the Somali community in general.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Chief Bitch explaining about bitching is rich. Let me say this relative to the tipping point. It is always amazing to me that Donald Trump has, on day one, our country's going to be great again. We were a dead country. Now we're hot as a pistol, he says. How tenuous is Donald Trump's solution to making America great again? How tenuous is it? How weak is America that we're at a tipping point still after a year almost of Donald Trump having made the country great? It doesn't line up. And then you can tell he's just rambling and meandering because he fucked up and said, they come from paradise after he had just said their country stinks and it's garbage. It's just, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just reverting and regressing to the most comfortable position for him, which is out and out anti-black racism. What do you think?
Exactly. Look, the contradictions there are just amazing. But whenever you hear this man speak, it's nothing but BS and contradictions. And so, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but not surprising to hear him say stuff like this. Yeah, I'm totally going to be that guy. But at the same time,
be you, Jeff. You be you.
Everything he says is just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just flat out wrong. I want to go back to a point where he said, oh, they don't add anything to our country. In 2015, over 181,000 refugee entrepreneurs generated by creating businesses $4.6 billion in business income. Yes, do they send some money back to people in Somalia? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And by the way, that's not fraudulent. You're allowed to do that. But they also spend a lot of that money here.
Of course they do. They have to live. They have to pay rent. They have to buy groceries. It is absolutely a boost to the United States economy in a way that we do feel the deleterious effects of through the deportation process, through people not being able to go to work because they're afraid of being deported. Businesses are hurt by that. And by extension, so is the economy. You're right.
Right. And look, the fraud stuff, right? We got Chief Fraudster talking about how people are doing fraud. All right. That's the irony there. Okay. But the reality is, just like Trump being chief fraudster, the people that are doing the fraud are U.S. citizens, not Somali refugees. The majority, yes, dozens of people were charged in these fraud cases in Minnesota, right? But again, they're not all Somali refugees. In fact, and the terrorism thing, federal prosecutors didn't bring any terrorism financing charges in any of those fraud cases. There is a lack of evidence that any of the money was used by terror organizations like Al-Shabaab. So,
well, again, listen, if they had evidence of it, they would certainly bring that evidence to the public because it would be the drum that they'd be banging on Fox News 24/7. It absolutely did not happen. The other thing that I did want to mention before we end here is at the very end of the meeting when he says, "Thank you very much," and he gets up, right before that, someone was like, applauding him by pounding the table like, yes, they are garbage. We don't want them in our country. This is not an isolated incident of some unhinged opinion that is only shared by Donald Trump.
Right.
This room is filled to the brim with white nationalists and people who want a white ethno-state in the United States. The one black face in the entire room, Scott Turner, who happens to be, again, the HUD administrator, is not some kind of an accident. It's by design that he has his Christian nationalist defense secretary sitting next to him, and then his bootlicker, Cuban migrant or son of Cuban migrants, Marco Rubio, next to him. Either it's just it's just a continuation of the grossness. Put a fine point on it, and then I want you to talk about where people can find you, Jeff.
Well, let me just say that address that point that you made about some of his cabinet people being slightly diverse, they're tokens. Okay. They're shields. What happens to tokens? They eventually get spent. Okay. And that's what's going to happen in this situation. Okay. Because as he is going after people like Ilhan Omar for being black, basically, because there's no substance to any of the arguments that he had made against her. Okay.
Well, they all apply to him. The only substance is if they turned around those accusations against him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, look, what we have here today at the end of the day is a cabinet meeting filled with white nationalists and racists, with Trump saying the most racist garbage stuff that isn't true to rile up his base, to rile people up, to get them to, I don't know, turn out and to really just show up for him.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all that it comes down to. You show up for me, because that's the only thing that's currently driving the Republican Party at this point. It is a cult of personality. It is a racist death cult of personality, but that's all it really is. And so, once again, it's not a surprise to see Trump going off and basically doing the thing that is most comfortable to him, which is to be a racist garbage person.
That right there is the fine point that we will end on. I would encourage everybody in the audience, if you're not already subscribed to Jeff, go find him on YouTube, find him on Blue Sky, and support his work. Independent media, very, very important. While the corporate media and mainstream media is asleep at the wheel, enabling Donald Trump, it's people like Jeff Waldorf who do a solid job in this space and need to be signal boosted, lifted up. So I appreciate you being here today, Jeff. Where else can people find you?
I think you pretty much nailed it all. I mean, I'm on Instagram as well.
All right.
Jeff Waldorf. And on Facebook as well. Facebook.com/Jeff Waldorf Show. You can see me post, fun, I guess, memes or whatever. And so, check that out. Follow me on the different platforms and check out my work, become a subscriber, and, support other independent progressive media members as well. You mentioned This Space. I also do a live stream on a channel called This Space.
Oh, yeah.
With a lot of other very small independent media creators. Check that out.
Yeah, that is great. This space is solid. The kind of the brainchild or help being organized by Matt Strackbine, the letter hack, a friend of the show, somebody we've collaborated with before. So thanks for joining me today, Jeff. And for those of you who would like to comment about this, you can comment below in the comment section. All right, this story just broke, so we're going to deal with this and shoehorn it into the regular show. If you are someone who is a little precious about criticism of Democrats, maybe this isn't the video for you. If you are someone who looks the other way at corruption because it's our team, this isn't the video for you. You can go ahead and we'll see you later. Donald Trump just announced the pardon of Henry Cuellar, Texas Democrat. In many ways, a turncoat to the principles of the Democratic Party. He's an anti-abortion ghoul, someone who doesn't believe women should have bodily autonomy over their reproduction. He is a conservative in many, many, many ways. And Donald Trump just offered him a pardon. Truth Social. He says this: for years, the Biden administration weaponized the justice system against their political opponents, a Democrat in this case, of course, and anyone who disagreed with them. One of the clearest examples of this was when Crooked Joe used the FBI and DOJ to take out a member of his own party after highly respected Congressman Henry Cuellar bravely spoke out against open borders and the Biden border catastrophe. Sleepy Joe went after the congressman and even the congressman's wonderful wife, Imelda, simply for speaking the truth. No, it's for bribery and intervening as a foreign agent for a foreign nation. simply for speaking the truth that is un-American, and I previously stated the radical left Democrats are complete and a total threat to democracy. They will attack, rob, lie, cheat, destroy, and decimate anyone who dares to oppose their far left agenda. The far left agenda of Joe Biden. Far left. Joe Biden, again. An agenda that, if left unchecked, will obliterate our magnificent country. Because of these facts and others, I am hereby, it's the others we're going to talk about. I am hereby announcing my full and unconditional pardon, all in caps, of beloved Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar and Imelda. Henry, I don't know you, but you can sleep well tonight. Your nightmare is finally over. Henry Cuellar and his wife were accused, and an indictment was secured, and they were going to trial for, and this is from The Guardian, federal authorities had charged Cuellar, 69, and his wife with accepting thousands of dollars in exchange for the congressman advancing the interests of an Azerbaijan-controlled energy company and a bank in Mexico. Cuellar is accused of agreeing to influence legislation favorable to Azerbaijan and deliver a pro-Azerbaijani speech on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. So where does the criticism for Democrats come in, other than this corrupt, pardon-accepting, guilty Democrat? Well, it comes in the fact that Hakeem Jeffries needs to resign his post as minority leader and prospective Speaker of the House of Representatives when indeed the Democrats gain the majority after the midterms. Because he was just asked about this on CNN, and rather than have a normal, decent response, the same Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, who refused until the very 11th hour to endorse Zoran Mamdani, is now fully behind Henry Cuellar, the corrupt, bribe-accepting Henry Cuellar and his wife. Watch this exchange that just took place on CNN with Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown and the esteemed Democratic leader of the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries.
On another issue that just has emerged within the last several minutes, Leader Jeffries, President Trump has announced a pardon of the Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife, who were charged with bribery. What's your response?
Well, Congressman Cuellar is a beloved member of the House of Representatives, loved in his community, particularly in Laredo. I've had the opportunity to spend time with him down in Laredo in South Texas. I look forward to that moving forward. Listen, the reality is this indictment was very thin to begin with, in my view. The charges were eventually going to be dismissed, if not at the trial court level by the Supreme Court, as they've repeatedly done in instances just like this.
So just to follow up on that, do you agree with the president's pardon here? Do you think that was a good thing then?
I don't know why the president decided to do this. I think the outcome was exactly the right outcome.
Well, Congressman Cuellar, we should note, is one of a handful of House Democrats who sits in a district President Trump won in 2024. So now he has this presidential pardon. Have you had any conversations with the congressman about him potentially switching to the Republican Party?
I think Congressman Cuellar is a highly valued member of the House Democratic Caucus, and I expect that he'll continue to remain a highly valued member of the House Democratic Caucus.
You don't know why Donald Trump pardoned Henry Cuellar? Donald Trump pardoned Henry Cuellar for the same reason that you're acting like a giant ally about what a beloved member of the Democratic caucus he is. Because you're afraid of losing a seat. You will back the play of a corrupt Democrat in order that he not flip and become a Republican. Do we have no soul? Have we no moral compass? No ethical North Star? Because that's what it seems with a Hakeem Jeffries in charge of the Democrats in the House and a Chuck Schumer in charge of Democrats in the Senate. Where have we gone wrong that these are our leaders? We are better than this. to stand on, I think he's a highly, highly valued member of the House Democratic Caucus, and I expect that he'll continue to remain that. Will he? Because we don't need him. We don't need someone to stymie the agenda of progress in this country. We don't need someone who's willing to accept money to enrich himself to represent a foreign country in the House of Representatives, representing a constituency of Americans while acting as an unregistered foreign agent for other countries' interests. But, oh, no, he's wonderful. I can't wait to get back down there and campaign for him in Laredo when you didn't campaign one fucking day for Zoran Mamdani, the future of the Democratic Party. So which element in American politics do you represent, Hakeem Jeffries? Because it certainly isn't progress. It certainly seems to be a regressive turn toward more conservative aspects of the Democratic Party. Because this is who you're full-throatedly endorsing and jumping behind, is Henry Cuellar and his wife, not Zoran. You don't have this much defense of members of the squad, AOC, Ilhan Omar, who are constantly under attack from Republicans. Vile, disgusting, racist attacks, misogynistic attacks. If only you, Hakeem Jeffries, could muster this kind of a defense for them that you just offered for Henry Cuellar. And the reason I know that Donald Trump is absolutely angling to get Henry Cuellar to become a Republican is because there's not a pardon in sight for Bob Menendez, the corrupt Democrat from the Senate, New Jersey senator, disgraced New Jersey senator. The reason is there's no pardon for him is because he can offer nothing to Donald Trump. There is no seat to flip to Republican because he's not in office anymore. But Henry Cuellar absolutely has something very valuable to offer Donald Trump. This is a bribe on the part. Donald Trump's offering him this. We'll see whether it comes to fruition that he switches parties. But my guess would be he does. And then where will you be, Hakeem Jeffries, after having endorsed? Oh, yeah, it was thin. The evidence was thin. Yeah. The Supreme Court, and they always do that. What did he say? The Supreme Court, this is the way they always do in all of these outcomes. Is that what they did? You said, if not at trial, it would have been dismissed. If not at the trial court level by the Supreme Court, as they've repeatedly done in instances just like this. Did they do that with Bob Menendez? No, they did not. Corruption's corruption. We need to rise above. We need to be better than this. We need to be better than Chuck Schumer. We need to be better than Hakeem Jeffries. Resign, sir. Save us all the stress and consternation. Because let me tell you, you're not immune from being primaried. It's exactly what should happen. Someone in Brooklyn, someone in New York City who lives in that district, get out there. We will raise money for you and see fit to boost your campaign. You heard it here first, maybe not here first, but you heard it here. Anyway, what do you think? If you're still here, thank you very much for being passionate about cleaning up the Democratic Party, making us stronger and better and more competitive to beat fascism. Putting in leaders who will stand and fight and not cower before Donald Trump. Comment below this video. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate it very much. I'm going to turn around and get this shoehorned in somewhere in the lineup today.
And he does it, by the way, not just because he hates war and he thinks wars are a waste of money and lives, but because he's the only leader in the world that can.
What's he going to do? Nap them into submission? Oh, I'm going to get you right after this nap. So all of the wild antics of Donald Trump took place mainly at the end of the meeting that we just talked about with the Somali racism, the Donald Trump just reverting back to who he is at his core. Not reverting back, he just highlights it at some points. But at the beginning part of the meeting, Donald Trump opened this same meeting. He opened it referring to Joe Biden as Sleepy Joe, which is just absolute no self-awareness whatsoever. Or he's so used to Republicans worshiping at his feet and telling him that his nakedness is glorious. His new clothes and garments are just beautiful and encrusted with gold and all of the ornamentation that you would expect from a wonderful, dear leader like Trump, right? So he starts the meeting, because he knows it doesn't matter with these ghouls. He starts the meeting talking about all the work he's done, and he's had to reverse all the damage of Sleepy Joe Biden, and then promptly fell asleep for most of the cabinet meeting. We'll start with that, very brief, maybe 20 seconds here.
But we have it almost, we'll soon be at a perfect level, but we inherited the worst inflation. But we have 20 states that are now selling gasoline at less than the $2.75, think of that, $2.75, and it was at $5 under Sleepy Joe. Grocery prices are down with the cost of Thanksgiving turkey this year down 33%. It was lower than 33% lower than under the Biden administration.
Yeah, Sleepy Joe, says the guy who cannot stay awake in meetings. But let me very quickly address, because I don't want some of these lies to just go unchallenged. It's amazing to me that Donald Trump, how many times have we heard him say in just the past few months that gas is now officially under $2 a gallon. And now, apparently months later, it's going to be soon at that level. You don't have it both ways. These numbers he's giving are lies. The numbers before he gave were lies. Just like how the Republican Party deals with Donald Trump and the reality of his declining situation, his declining health, his declining cognition, they don't deal with it with a reality lens. Marco Rubio, this is the beginning of the meeting. Marco Rubio is talking about Donald Trump being the only leader equipped to handle the world's problems, to deal with the world's problems, to solve the myriad problems that face us. The dear leader, he's the only one that can do it. And while he's gesturing to Donald Trump is passed the fuck out, crashed out, desperately trying, but his eyelids are too heavy. He can't do it. He's asleep. The man who's the only one who can do it, asleep on the job, literally.
Everything this president does is driven by the American people. Whether you don't have to agree with the actual move, but understand the motivation. The motivation is always you, the American people, and what's good for you, for your family, for the country, and for our economy. But the president is also committed to peace in a way that all of us have seen. He achieved in Gaza, and he does it, by the way, not just because he hates war and he thinks wars are a waste of money and lives, but because he's the only leader in the world that can. No other leader in the world could have pulled off what happened in Gaza. And I can tell you, I can't get into the details. The vice president knows what I'm talking about. That deal doesn't happen without the president's direct interaction with the leaders that were involved in this decision making. And everyone said that deal couldn't hold. And then the president shepherded through the United Nations of all places to get a global coalition of countries to line up behind the peace deal, behind the border peace. And it's still, every day is a challenge, but it's been driven personally by the president. It's the reason why we're involved in this whole Ukraine-Russia conflict. That's not our war. It's not the president's war. This war started, it never would have happened if you'd been president. But this war is going on, and the president is trying to end it, not because, listen, we got a million things to focus on in the world as a country, but he's the only leader in the world that can help end it.
But he's the only leader who is capable of ending it? What's he going to do? Nap them into submission? Oh, I'm going to get you right after this nap. Come on. And this wasn't the only moment where Donald Trump was asleep at the wheel, asleep on the job Again, literally. There was a moment, and I'm going to show you two angles of the exact same set of seconds. We'll put it side by side. One is the White House feed, where you won't see Donald Trump crashed out. Whoever's operating the camera realizes, oh shit, this isn't good optics. We can't have Donald Trump completely passed out. We can't have the addled, demented lunatic asleep while his cabinet is heaping praise and worship upon him. That doesn't look right. And then the other one is another angle from a different camera that shows him just uninvolved, not being a leader, not listening and taking part in the cabinet meeting that its sole purpose is to prop him up as a wonderful, decent man who is here to serve the American people, like Marco Rubio talked about. That's his only concern, is caring about America and the people, while he's sleeping because he's an 80-year-old demented lunatic. Watch these two angles.
I can say, sir, that we are moving to return education to the states and to bring the level of education back up, making sure our students can read, by reintroducing the science of reading in schools. And going into next year,
Yeah, they're really trying their best. I mean, look, sometimes you just can't. When Marco Rubio sitting right next to Donald Trump, you can't get so tight on Marco Rubio, just his mouth or something, to not show Donald Trump crashed out. But, you know, when Linda McMahon's down the way a little bit, she's seated 5, 6, 7 seats away, it's a little easier to frame the shot, right? So let's finish with this, though. And this doesn't really have anything to do with Donald Trump sleeping, but it does have to do with them heaping praise and being just a weird, obsequious, ass-licking bootlickers, just lapdogs. It's so weird and gross and it's just antithetical. And maybe this is it. Maybe for some normal people, this is how it's like, well, I could see myself kissing my boss's ass. I've never been that guy. That's why this job is suited so well for me, because I don't answer to anybody but you guys. I guess having 1.23 million bosses is different than just having one asshole to answer to. But I don't have it in me to do the things that these people do to debase themselves, these dignity-free actors. Kristi Noem being among them. Now, people are going to say, oh, she's making a joke when she says that Donald Trump chased away the hurricanes. But I don't know that it is, because then she launches into lies about Donald Trump's destruction of the American government and our emergency measures that have been put in place for decades, like FEMA. And she ties it into her weird remark about Donald Trump not having hurricanes this year and him being responsible for the weather, I guess. Watch Kristi Noem really go to town on Donald Trump.
We've got within the department, TSA went through this government shutdown without any delays. They all showed up for their shifts and worked hard doing security, and they have been absolutely fantastic. Sir, you made it through hurricane season without a hurricane. Yeah. And so FEMA, you kept the hurricanes away. So we appreciate that. And FEMA is deploying resources and dollars 150% faster than ever before. So somebody does have something bad that happens to them, you are immediately there helping them and telling them they have the resources to get back up on their feet.
All right. There's more here. There's more here than I thought. The TSA, and there were no delays during the government shutdown when hundreds and hundreds of flights had to be canceled in order that the delays were not as bad as they could be, as bad as they would have been. There were absolutely delays during the government shutdown, sister. You know that. You know that, but you're a liar. You're in charge of the TSA. You know what was going on. It's just remarkable to me. And then making it through the hurricane season without Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, thank you. We really appreciate that, sir. And then going on to talk about FEMA. We're delivering money 150% faster, whatever number of nonsense she said. Donald Trump has stated he doesn't want FEMA to exist. He doesn't want the federal government to be responsible for helping states in their moments of need. they extract taxes from the states, and when those states need help, he doesn't want to pay. Not even red states he wants to pay, but certainly not blue states. So all of this is just, and so the American people know that you're going to be there to help them when they have a blah, 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 blah. Come on. This is not, first of all, this entire endeavor of these cabinet meetings is embarrassing for Americans, or at least it should be, for them to sit around and in this weird North Korean dictator nonsense way, just prop up the dear leader, prop up the cult leader as though he's some kind of a magic semi-deity, a demigod, a Herculean figure in American history. Come on. It's weird and gross. All of it, I believe, is because they know he is sundowning. Soon he will be an ethereal spirit floating off to wherever his end destination is. I don't believe in any of that, but if I did, I don't think he'd be making it. He doesn't even think he'd be making it to heaven. He said that many times. Anyway, now I'm rambling. I am done. I love and appreciate you very much. I'd love your participation in this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below this video.
You see the clanging, the banging, and when it's completed, it'll be one of the greatest ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's going to be amazing.
You know, on some days, it's just impossible to talk about anything other than, or it's difficult to talk about anything other than Donald Trump's declining state, his physical decline, but also his cognitive decline. And this isn't about him falling asleep. And, you know, some of this can be just chalked up to old man shit, which is a problem in and of itself when you have a leader, a president who has a very important job to do, and he is incapable of staying awake. That's a problem, right? But it's also a problem when you have a president who can't functionally navigate very simple questions, very plainly worded questions. And what he does in the face of those questions, rather than answer, is to default to the thing that he's obsessed with at the moment and then ramble about that because that's a comfort zone for him. You see this. I hear, again, not a medical professional, but you hear about this when people talk about their grandparents or parents who have Alzheimer's, who are in a memory deficit, who have cognition issues, who have dementia issues, right? So people will regress. They'll go back to childhood, and people will wander out of their nursing home or their home and try to find their childhood home. This is what Donald Trump has done, except he's not going back all the way to childhood. He's going to the thing that he's most focused on in the moment. And that's the ballroom, the monstrosity, the $350 million, 1,000-seat, gold-encrusted nonsense that he is obsessed with. He has literally demolished part of the White House in order to erect this bullshit that nobody needs in a time when income inequality is at its peak. It's another gilded age, and Donald Trump is here as the tip of the spear. So Jasmine Wright, who is a reporter for Notice, she's had run-ins with Donald Trump before where he's abused her. No shock that Donald Trump takes his ire out chiefly on women. And if you're a black woman, it's just a bonus for him to be an asshole. And she asked him a question about the funding of this Trump accounts for children that he's in the middle of a press conference talking about. And she asked him about how many other wealthy friends and which other wealthy friends are going to be contributing to the Trump accounts. Again, the thing he's promoting in the press conference that you're getting ready to witness. And instead of answering the question, he doesn't understand the question. He gets lost and starts talking about the ballroom, about arches, about anything other than what the reporter wanted to know.
Mr. President, you said that you have been talking to your wealthy friends, as well as you, Mr. Dell, about contributing. Can you walk us through maybe who you've been talking to and how much more we can expect on top of
I think the people you probably would think I would be talking to. There's a group of people out there that have been very successful, and we've already started talking to them. You know, we're doing ballrooms, we're doing arcs, we have a thing that's being planned that's going to be a great tribute to the country, as you know. You probably heard about it. The arc that we're looking at by the bridge by near Arlington. There's going to be something. We're doing some other things for Washington itself and for the country itself. But a lot of the people that have, gone in and done a real job with that. The ballroom, I think Michael and Susan, the next time we meet, well, I think hopefully we'll meet before then, but we're going to have a big event over in the ballroom to celebrate this. We're building a ballroom that they've wanted at this beautiful White House for 150 years. They've wanted it so badly. Right now we can hold 109 people if you're lucky in a room. It's a beautiful room, but it's 109 people, and we're building something. You see the trucks in the back. You see the clanging, the banging, and when it's completed, it'll be one of the greatest ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's going to be amazing. So people that were involved in that process, I have a lot of friends with a lot of success, and every one of them, I would be shocked if anyone turns us down. We're going to have a lot of big contributors, Jeff.
We're doing arcs, like the Ark of the Covenant, like Noah's Ark, or are you doing an arch? Donald Trump. And also, I should have mentioned this before, but maybe you can go back. That might even help the algorithm. Who even knows? Well, go back and watch the beginning of it and watch Ted Cruz and watch little Mike Johnson. It is a remarkable thing for me that you're witnessing a United States senator, someone who's a senior member of the Republican Party, been around for years and years in the Senate, elected to office, and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. If J.D. Vance dies, if Donald Trump dies and J.D. Vance dies at the same time, it's Mike Johnson's the President of the United States. That's how close he is to the office of the presidency. And he's just an obsequious little ass lick. He and Ted Cruz. Just so funny. They look at Donald Trump with adulation, with love, with affection in their eyes as he's just veering off out of control. It's remarkable. It's dangerous because when you are president of the United States, you need accurate counsel. People who are unafraid to look you in the eyes and tell you the truth, give you their earnest perspective on the way things should be. This is what counselors do. This is what assistants and aides do. Strategists and consultants, they're there to give an unvarnished opinion, no matter how negatively it might be taken. But these people, they're so obsequious. They yearn to have their nose just surgically connected to Donald Trump's asshole that they don't mind that the rest of us look at them with derision, with embarrassment, just by proxy, just from a distance. This is something I will never understand. Look, I was a Republican decades and decades ago as a young man. So maybe that's what it is, that I have a memory of the Republican Party maybe being something differently because at that time I felt differently about it. I don't exactly know, but this is not what I would have signed up for. But they're stepping in line. And look, there's a lot of people who ask a lot of questions about getting to the bottom of it. I don't know it's because of personal enrichment and they don't care how much they shame themselves. They don't care about how much dignity they lose. They don't care about any of this. As long as they're making money hand over fist, millions and millions of dollars, as long as they're adjacent to power, I don't know. I know that's not the point of the video. It's not the point of the topic. It's not the point, but help me out. Let's end it there. You help me out. And I don't know how much I can help you out. I don't have the answers on this one. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. If it's on Facebook, make sure you have liked and followed the Facebook page. Comment below. Engage with the content. We are absolutely slaves to the algorithms. All of us, if you're on any social media platform at all, you are controlled by, you are manipulated by the algorithm. So do your part to make that manipulation more of a positive thing where people can get the truth delivered to them through the browse feature or whatever. Like, follow, comment, share, all those things go a long way. And on YouTube too, make sure you're subscribed and you engage with the video. She even starts the question by saying, If this had been something that had been happening during the Joe Biden administration, I'd probably be right here hitting them on television. I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say that I think Fox News hates Kash Patel. Maybe that should be the title of the video. And the reason I say this is because, listen, I think you're naive. Someone is naive, not you, but, you know, the royal you. Those who give Fox News fairness and charity and the benefit of the doubt that they're not working behind the scenes to accomplish the agenda that is in the heart of the Murdochs, I think those people would be naive. That's absolutely what's taking place. And for whatever reason, I think they're getting ready to pull the plug, pull the ripcord in their descent. I'm really struggling with my metaphor here. They're getting ready to pull the trigger. Let's start that. Let's do that. Let's do a trigger metaphor. They're going to pull the trigger on this and really start going hard against Kash Patel, because really there's no other way to deal with all of the controversy and the scandal that he is bringing as a distraction to the Trump administration. And some of the goals of the agenda cannot be accomplished when there isn't someone who is distracting from those things getting done, because everything gets focused on defending, everything gets focused on what is taking place there, investigations, possible impeachments, and Fox News doesn't want that. Of course, drama does drive clicks, and that does help. But I think we're seeing this take place. And this is why. Laura Ingraham had Kash Patel on last night and asked a series of questions that usually are intended to just give the person the opportunity to defend themselves and to give their narrative. But this went a little farther than that. This was really Laura Ingraham dressing him down. I think that's the phrase, where she's talking about the Epstein files. And look, all of my listeners, we are joining one with another to come against you to ask this question. What, did you just make a mistake? Was it just an unforced error? What's going on? And that's pretty much how they led.
Mr. Director, our viewers also are just, they're chomping at the bit on why it took the Epstein files so long to be released. Any regrets there? Was that an unforced error? Just should we have gotten them out earlier? Just get them all out there? Just thought I'd give you a chance to react to that.
Yeah, look, this FBI has produced 40,000 pages of documents to Congress. To put that in comparison, Wray put out 13,000 in 7 years, and Comey put out 3,000. We're committed to transparency. We're putting out as much as we can that is lawful and that is not prohibited by court orders. And those are the things the DOJ is fighting still with judges in court to make sure we can reveal everything without breaking the law. And that's what we're committed to doing. We're doing it as fast as we can, and we're going to keep doing it, not just on this, but you know about Arctic Frost because of this FBI's discovery of the illegal surveillance of senators and staffers. You know about Russiagate because of mine and Devin's work from back in day. And we're going to continue those investigations. And you bet we have ongoing criminal investigations on both those fronts, because the guy who launched Russiagate, me as a senior staffer back in House Intel, is now the director of the FBI. And I'm not going to end this mission without destroying and leveling the full weaponization that occurred before I got here.
So the reason that I think that this is throwing him under the bus is you would think they would want this story to go away. You would think that they wouldn't want the Epstein files thing to persist because it only damages Donald Trump. It's only rounds down range with Donald Trump being a target. And by extension, Kash Patel, because he was the one who banged that Epstein drum so hard and so long for so many years. And now he's in a position to actually release the files. And he just actually gave you the strategy of how they're going to get out of it when he said, we are putting out as much as we can that is lawful and not prohibited by the courts. Rather than just release all the files like Congress just passed and Donald Trump signed, now you're saying, well, only what the law allows or what court orders, blah, 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 blah. Much to the chagrin of Laura Ingraham, who is more of a servant to her audience than she is Kash Patel. The other thing that they got into, and she said some things here that are very reminiscent of somebody who's getting ready to pull the plug, pull the cord, pull the trigger on turning against Kash Patel. And that is about his use of jets. Now, she's given him an opportunity to make excuses, but she even starts the question by saying, if this had been something that had been happening during the Joe Biden administration, I'd probably be right here hitting them on television. And then he gets his opportunity after she sets the stage that what he's doing is wrong. He gets to answer. Watch this.
And the Democrats are also, Mr. Director, supposedly going to investigate your use of the FBI jet, because they're claiming you've commandeered it for personal joyrides, going to a wrestling event, I guess, for your girlfriend. Is that true? And if so, if the Biden team did something like that, if it was true, I'd probably be hitting them tonight on television. But I thought I'd give you a chance to respond to that drive-by.
Yeah. It's simple. The FBI director, all FBI directors are required users of the FBI plane. They don't let me fly commercially. But my predecessors wasted millions of dollars because they were too lazy to drive an extra 20 minutes and go to Andrews Air Force Base. They used D.C. Reagan National as their personal hub, costing the taxpayer $4 million. I shut that policy off and mandated the use of government airfields. I've also used the airplane less than my prior two predecessors. And yes, I'm entitled to a personal life just like my other agency had counterparts with their partners. So do I support my girlfriend? Absolutely. And do I take trips with her? Absolutely. But when they're talking about raid jackets and Velcro and FBI plane use, they are not talking about the facts, because they know this FBI is succeeding in ways prior leadership failed. And those cronies will always stick together and, of course, band together with their enemies to come in and attack us. And our mission here is to protect the American people. Let me tell you one more stat that the American people are going to love. This FBI is on course to deliver the lowest murder rate in modern history by double digits. The lowest murder rate in modern history by double digits. That's because we're out there in cities like Memphis leading the charge, in places like St. Louis and Miami and New York and elsewhere across the country, delivering the mission first mindset and putting agents in power in the field to make these arrests. You cannot have these results if you focus on what the media wants to write about you or what the Democrats want to investigate. I am the only FBI director to turn over information related to travel, and that information shows one thing. I am a steward of the taxpayer dollars. My predecessors weren't. They couldn't drive 20 extra minutes on every trip. I'll drive an extra hour if it saves the taxpayer an extra few bucks.
Eric Swalwell has zero credibility on anything given his past.
You see, none of this is a distraction. When they talk about him wanting a certain jacket to fit a little tighter to make him seem more manly when he's like 5'2", that's not a distraction. That points to where your focus is. What you are endeavoring to do at the FBI, that it's about you. It's about how many private jet trips you can take to concerts or wrestling matches with your girlfriend, and then leave the concert at Penn State, for instance, and fly then with your girlfriend to her home in Nashville on the private jet. I mean, they've talked about deep state corruption for so many years. This is the deep state corruption. And I think this might be the opening salvo. We'll see. It'll start taking place over the course of the next few weeks or even the next couple months. But I think this might be that opening salvo, that opening of the gates, the pulling of the trigger of Fox News turning against Kash Patel. And listen, if right-wing media turns against Kash Patel, he is not long for this world relative to his position at the FBI. Donald Trump will absolutely cut bait if the tide turns against him. And it's going to take Fox News and Newsmax and all of the wild conspiracy theory television programming that Donald Trump is so wont to watch all the time. It will convince him, because he is a rube. And the last person who talked to him is the one who his opinion is based on. So we'll see. We'll just mark this as a prediction and watch closely over the course of the next few weeks to see if I'm correct. What do you think? Do you disagree or agree? You can comment in the comment section below. In the same meeting, in the same set of just a few minutes, Donald Trump says it's a scam and a hoax perpetrated by the Democrats, and his own cabinet, people with intimate knowledge of the matter, say, no, affordability. Well, if we want affordability, we don't want to put more money in people's pockets. So let's end on this today. This little quick one, right? Yesterday, Donald Trump held his cabinet meeting where they go around the horn and they kiss his ass, and they're just heaping obsequious praise on him like the sycophantic lapdogs that they are. It really is the bootlick party, the Republican Party. It's nightmarish. But Donald Trump has long been trying to change the narrative about affordability. He's been saying, actually, it's all solved. Affordability is fine. There is no affordability crisis. Prices are way, way down for everyone. What you're feeling in your bank account and in your pocketbook when you go to the grocery store isn't actually happening. What's actually happening is you can afford everything because prices are low again. I have solved the affordability crisis. It's over. The problem is his cabinet didn't get the memo, apparently, because after all the clip, I put a little mashup together. It took me way too long. I'm not very talented at these things. And I put together this mashup of all the times Donald Trump talked about the affordability crisis, because his new narrative is that talking about affordability is a scam and a hoax from the Democratic Party. Anything that Donald Trump is guilty of that he wants to deflect away from, he calls a scam or a hoax. The perfect phone call where he tried to extort Volodymyr Zelensky in the first administration, his first impeachment, was a scam and a hoax, right? The next thing we're going to be waiting for him to say is that the affordability thing is a witch hunt. I mean, really, that's probably it. But the problem is, I'm going to play the clip. I know I'm rambling here. The problem is that I don't think his cabinet is on the same page, certainly. They didn't have a pregame where they had a little huddle and like, okay, here's the narrative, folks. Because Donald Trump rambled on several moments where he talked about it being a scam and a hoax. And then his cabinet was talking about the affordability crisis that Donald Trump apparently thinks in the same meeting is a scam and a hoax. First, here's the little mashup of Donald Trump talking about how the Democrats are responsible for the scam and the hoax that you're actually feeling in your bank account.
I mean, these are the facts we have to get out. And, you know, there's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. The word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. They say affordable. I watched the other day where some very low IQ congresswoman talked about affordability. The word affordability is a Democrat scam.
They talked about it's about.
I think they're getting fake news from guys like you. Look, affordability is a hoax that was started by Democrats. But when they always say, I watched today where they have a race going on right now in Tennessee, and this woman goes, affordability. But they're like scam artists, you know, they're I call them con men and women. They come out, they say affordability, like, I see prices.
I call them con men and women. Did you hear that, by the way? That little ditty there, where he's like a very low IQ congresswoman. He put all the stank on woman in congresswoman. Tell me he's not a misogynist piece of shit. Come on. Make it make sense that anybody would try to put Donald Trump forward as anything other than what he is. But these are the facts we need to get out. He said that multiple times in this particular cabinet meeting about affordability. These are the facts that we need to get out. This is the narrative. This is the propaganda. These are the lies that we all need to run with. And apparently, problematically for Donald Trump, the rest of his cabinet didn't get the message because Scott Turner, his HUD secretary, talked about affordability. Brooke Rollins, the agriculture secretary, she talked about affordability. Scott Bessent, the treasury secretary, used the words affordability crisis, and so did J.D. Vance. They didn't get the memo, apparently.
So you talked about affordability. HUD has supported over 1 million Americans
in home ownership and affordability, and over 560,000 are first-time home buyers.
We talked a lot about affordability. We'll continue to talk about that.
So the best way to address the affordability crisis is to give Americans more money in their pockets.
If you look at every affordability crisis that's confronting the American people today.
So which is it? In the same meeting, in the same set of just a few minutes, Donald Trump says it's a scam and a hoax perpetrated by the Democrats, and his own cabinet, people with intimate knowledge of the matter, say, no, affordability. Well, if we want affordability, we don't want to put more money in people's pockets. If there's no affordability crisis because it's a scam and a hoax, why is your cabinet so on point, laser focused on what your voters are actually dealing with? I guess the question would be, is this by design? Because we know they're liars. We know that J.D. Vance is a liar, that Scott Bessent is a liar, that Brooke Rollins is an ass-kissing liar, that Scott Turner is, he's an evangelical pastor. We know he's a liar. But is it because they can't lie as well as Donald Trump? They can't do it with the straight face? Or, and I don't know, I really don't know. There's definitely two options here. Or is it some kind of a measure that they want both narratives to be spoken by the administration, so when Caroline Leavitt gets asked about it, she can deflect from Donald Trump's nonsense and focus in on the things the cabinet says, or vice versa, ignore the things the cabinet has said and focus only in on Donald Trump talking about how it's a scam and a hoax? I don't know. But with the very advanced propaganda operation that Donald Trump runs, that his staffers are dedicated to, that he has people who are paid handsomely, six-figure salaries to come up with, to craft the lies that become the narrative of the administration. And usually it's just to kind of back Donald Trump's play that he comes up with in the moment and starts rambling. So we are led by a communication team that just tries to, after the fact, it's like an ex post facto, making up the rules as they go, making up the excuses as they go to back Donald Trump's dementia. Ultimately, it is the dementia administration, and we are witnessing and feeling the impacts of the dementia administration. What do you think? We're going to end it there. I appreciate your joining me today, your engagement on this video. I talked a little bit about the algorithm today. I just want to double down on that and say engagement is what helps everything. If you like the video, it signals to YouTube that this is content other people like you. That's how the algorithm works. It's like this person sets all of it, like you have a profile. It's kind of loose. I mean, I don't really understand the thing. This is how I understand it. You have a profile. And when your profile, you click on this, your profile, they match it against other people who have a similar profile than you. Am I going too much? Is this too much? Anyway. And so it will share this video if you like it and comment on it and share it. Obviously, if you share it. But if you're subscribed to all of those things and you watch it for a while, it tells YouTube, oh, this person is like this. We're going to share this video with other people who are like that person. That's how it works. So if a wide swath of individuals with different likes and different interests who watch different kinds of videos, if they all engage, it very much helps. Absolutely, it does. And I would appreciate it very much. You could do the same thing, works on Facebook. I would appreciate it. Comment below. That helps the algorithm. And you can call and leave a voicemail on the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. If you want to take that support to the next level, become a channel member on YouTube, click the join button, become a channel, $2 a month, or patreon.com/I-doubt-it podcast. I love and appreciate you for your patriotism, your engagement with my content, your concern for making the world a better place. We're going to win this. It might take longer than we'd like, but we are going to win. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.
With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes.
This story might be the most important story since Donald Trump has taken office, and it's very complex and it's all over the place, but there's two overarching kind of umbrella categories that I want to talk about. One is the constant refrain from the Trump administration, these lies that they've got the backs of the troops. We're here to support you. You're finally supported again. The military is back. And then at their first major controversy relative to operational activities, they throw an admiral under the bus. They're scurrying for cover. Pete Hegseth. I talked about this the other day. Donald Trump is trying to distance himself from Pete Hegseth. And now Pete Hegseth is trying to distance himself from the strikes on the Venezuelan boats that they've given us no evidence that they're drug boats. None at all. They're just making claims. Of course, no due process, so they just murder people on the high seas. There are survivors clinging to life on a burning boat. And there's a second strike ordered by Pete Hegseth. Kill them all. And now they're throwing an admiral under the bus. The other thing that I want to talk about, though, and I'm going to start with this, is because of their insatiable appetite for clout chasing, for self-promotion, for attention seeking, they out themselves. It's a breakneck pace to get to Fox News to talk about the crimes that they've committed. And then once they're actually outed and questioned as crimes, then it's like, no. This is all fake news. Let's start with the initial denial of the strikes, the second strike. Sean Parnell is a doofus, an absolute, we'll keep it PG, zero, who is the lapdog for Pete Hegseth. Imagine, as an aside, imagine that your station in life is being a fucking lapdog, thought I'd keep it PG, a lapdog for a lapdog. He's not a direct lapdog of Donald Trump. He's the lapdog of Pete Hegseth, who is a lapdog of Donald Trump. Just getting in there and just enjoying that grundle butter, Sean Parnell. He lied initially about the strike on November 8th. He said, this is in Natasha Bertrand, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think she's with CNN. She said, no denial here. I've read that tweet from Pete Hegseth where he did not deny the strike. He just used a bunch of language about how the media was attacking the military or the members, the actual brave heroes. No denial here that a second strike deliberately killed survivors on September 2nd as we planned, as we and the Post reported today. And Sean Parnell wrote this on November 28th. We told the Washington Post that this entire narrative was false yesterday. The entire narrative. The strike, false. The second strike, false. They're denying everything. These people just fabricated anonymously sourced sources out of whole cloth. Fake news is the enemy of the people, he said. That was November 28th. How his messaging and denials have changed. He tweeted this yesterday in response to this Ted Lieu tweet that you can read. What was confirmed is that the Washington Post and CNN peddled a fake news narrative that Secretary Hegseth gave some sort of kill all survivors order. That is a dangerous and irresponsible lie, and you should be ashamed for pushing it. Why the shift, Sean? Why the shift? Interesting, though, because Pete Hegseth himself, just like I believe a few weeks ago, gave a speech to troops where he guaranteed them, he wanted to assure them, we love you. Donald Trump loves you. We have your back. If anything goes down, we're here to protect you.
Our job is to have your back. And that's something President Trump asked me to tell the troops everywhere we go. That's all I ever wanted when I was a young platoon leader, is to know that my leader, my company commander, my battalion commander, my brigade commander, division commander, you name it, squad leader, would have my back when we do difficult, dangerous things in the dead of night where you can make mistakes, and it's life or death. President Trump, I watch it every day, he has your back. At the Department of War, we have your back. And so we came all this way.
We're going to get to how that is an absolute bullshit statement. All meant to, as he tiptoes and bounces on his toes when he talks. I think that's his tell. You know, in poker, people have tells. That's his tell. You know he's lying when he's bouncing on his toes and trying to get all evangelical and preachy with you. Yeah, it's something to behold. The other thing that makes this denial so nonsensical is the fact that he did run to Fox News on September 3rd in response to the September 2nd attack on this alleged drug boat. Again, no due process. We don't have any evidence of it. We have to just believe noted serial liars and take their word for it. Here he is on Fox News admitting he knows about the strike, saying, I watched it live.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
You heard it. He was there. And obviously, he's not watching on a YouTube live stream. He's got the advanced technology of the Pentagon, being able to communicate with the warfighters, with the people in operational command of this entire endeavor. In the moment, we witnessed the killing of Osama bin Laden, or witnessed them witnessing it in the White House. So we know exactly what kind of granular, in real-time communication can be had with commanders, if not with the troops in the field themselves. So this is why it is so interesting now. And also, this is a clarion, this is a message for commanders and the troops that don't think you're going to be covered when you do something illegal. Don't think you're going to be taken care of by this administration when war crimes come a-calling, when war crime tribunals come a-calling, when consequence for your following illegal orders come a-calling. Here is Caroline Leavitt, who was asked questions about this yesterday, and immediately pivoted to her prepared statement and threw Admiral Bradley, as well he should be thrown under the bus, because he followed an illegal order, murdering non-combatants, murdering people who are not engaged in warfare against the United States. This is what you get, brother. This is what you get. Watch Caroline Leavitt throw him straight under the bus.
Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Excuse me. Regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd. The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Gabe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated.
So I want to take stock of where we are with all of the denials and the shifting of the story, the evolution here. They've denied second strike, denied. We saw that in Sean Parnell's tweet. Then it came to, the second strike happened, but Pete didn't know anything about it. Donald Trump said that on Air Force One. And now here we are from the podium in the White House press briefing room, Caroline Leavitt saying, it happened. But Secretary Hegseth also authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Look, it wasn't Donald Trump. He authorized Pete Hegseth, who in turn authorized Admiral Bradley. This is all on Admiral Bradley. If you have criticisms, you got to take them to Admiral Bradley. He's the one who pulled the trigger on this whole operation. Even though now we know from Pete Hegseth's own whiskey-soaked mouth, and I enjoy my whiskey. I'm not, I got to get my invectives in where I can. From Pete Hegseth's own mouth, that he was there. He saw it live. He watched it take place. So all of the denials should fall on deaf ears of anybody who's actually paying attention here. Admiral Bradley worked well with his authority and the law. No, he did not. Directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed. Notice this is a prefabricated statement for her to read. Not off the cuff. They wanted the precise language written here, spoken here. Now, the good thing that's coming from this is that people in the military are starting to wake up. People within the national defense apparatus of the United States are starting to understand they're not going to be covered by Donald Trump. They will be thrown to the wolves. They will be held accountable where no accountability will be given to Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth. He will be covered like the son that Donald Trump never had, the loved son that Donald Trump never had. He will be covered by pardon. Not so with Admiral Bradley, and I think they're starting to realize that. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, 3 or 4 paragraphs from this Washington Post article, but get a load of this headline. Hegseth, with White House help, tries to distance himself from boat strike fallout. As Congress vows accountability, the Trump administration emphasized it was a top military commander, not the defense secretary, who directed the engagement. Officials in Congress and the Pentagon said Monday they are increasingly concerned that the Trump administration intends to scapegoat the military officer who directed U.S. forces to kill 2 survivors of a targeted strike on alleged, no evidence given, just to claim, suspected drug smugglers in Latin America as lawmakers made initial moves to investigate whether the attack constituted a war crime. Her scripted remarks at a news briefing elicited a furious backlash. The same scripted remarks that you just witnessed elicited a furious backlash within the Defense Department, where officials described feeling angry at the uncertainty over whether Hegseth would take responsibility for his alleged role in the operation or leave the military and civilian staff under him to face the consequences. Quote, "This is Protect Pete bullshit," one military official who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal conversations told the Post. Leavitt's statement, quote, left it up to interpretation who was responsible for the second strike that killed the 2 survivors, a separate military official said, imploring the White House to provide clarity on the issue. Don't hold your breath, military official, waiting for clarity to be communicated by this White House. Final paragraph here. One official said of Leavitt's statement, "It's throwing us, the service members, under the bus." Another person said some of Hegseth's top civilian staff appeared deeply alarmed about the revelations and were contemplating whether to leave the administration. They don't got the backs of the troops. They don't give a shit about the troops. When you put feckless morons in charge at the Pentagon, like Pete Hegseth and Sean fucking Parnell, it shows how little regard, how much disrespect and disregard you have for our warfighters, for the people who bring lethality and all the buzzwords, the jingoistic nonsense, the uncritical patriotism, the fake patriotism. And they are trying to structurally change the Pentagon and the Pentagon press pool. We'll get to that. We will definitely get to that. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have a comment off. Let's have a conversation in the comments, in that comment off. They think loving the country is obeying Donald Trump. I hate to break it to you, simps and suckers and losers and ass kissers, grundle butter drinkers. That's not loving your country. Well, you didn't have to wait long for me to talk about the restructuring of the Pentagon. Yesterday was quite the day, with allegations of the committing of war crimes against the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense, and Admiral Bradley, we'll throw him in there for good measure too. The trifecta of murdering without evidence people that are not warfighters. They're non-combatants. Even if they are drug traffickers, that is a crime that is not punishable by death in the United States. That is a crime that should be adjudicated by a grand jury, by an investigation, by a conviction by a sentencing in a court of law where due process is cherished. That is not what's taking place. And rather than field a press pool that will report on these things, that will give the information to the American public that is owed to us, our birthright is accurate reporting. Our birthright is the truth. How is that something that can be refuted? The Pentagon is now staffing through their nonsense policies a new crop of Pentagon reporters who are, it is just conspiracy theory, clout chasing, attention seeker in the press pool now. People who have offices inside the Pentagon, who didn't spend yesterday reporting on the war crimes that allegedly have been committed, that very likely have been committed based on everything we know. They didn't spend any time reporting on that. They spent time posting on Twitter about their new offices. These used to be the Washington Post offices. These used to be Bloomberg's offices. Now they're ours. Let the fun begin. It is just insane. And we're going to start with this particular tweet because Mike Lindell has an office inside the Pentagon. At least Lindell TV does. Like that's a real thing. I mean, what's next? Dr. Phil getting an office inside the Pentagon to report while signing a contract that they won't report on anything the Pentagon doesn't want them to report on? Yeah. This is the tweet from Real Lindell TV. Breaking news, everybody. Lindell TV gains historic access to Pentagon briefing room. For the first time, new media outlets like Lindell TV are being welcomed into the Pentagon, a space once reserved for legacy networks who, quote, refuse to sign basic ethics agreements. Heather Mullins reports live from inside the briefing room where top military leaders, including Secretary of War, will deliver national security updates. Quote, this is one of the craziest experiences of my life as a journalist. For years, media like ours wasn't allowed here. That's finally changed. A new era of journalism has arrived, and it starts with truth, accountability, and respect for those who serve. Quote, this isn't just a press privilege, it's a responsibility. We're here to ask questions the American people deserve the answers to. I guess my main question that I think I deserve an answer to is that really Heather Mullins, or is that Mike Lindell in address? Like, I got questions. And maybe this minute and 46 second element of this clip, it's like a almost 7 minute video that she posted to Twitter. But the most important aspect is just the first minute and a half or so. So here is this. You decide whether it's Mike Lindell in address. And we'll talk about some of these other idiots who now have access to the Pentagon and the Defense Department.
And here we are live at the Pentagon representing Lindell TV. This is actually one of the craziest experiences of my life as a journalist. The fact that we have the opportunity to be a part of this briefing room that prior years, new media like ours was not allowed in this room. And in fact, what you're seeing behind me, this is the actual briefing room where the Secretary of Defense and other top Pentagon officials will be coming out and giving America essentially briefings on the movements of our military. And a lot has been going on. I've heard a lot of talk from other reporters and stuff in this room lately just about what's going on in Venezuela, what's going on in the Middle East. There's a lot of things people are talking about, and Americans at home want answers, and they deserve real journalists to be in this room asking the questions that Americans want to know. And we haven't had that, as you guys know. We haven't had that for a really long time. A lot of the media that was in here, they refused to sign paperwork of, it's basically just ethics, right? Like this room that we're in, the Pentagon, this is a matter of national security. There's information within these walls that impact our men and women that go and serve overseas, that serve in combat. And so part of being in this room, it's not a right, it is a privilege. And so when journalists like myself and journalists like you see in this room here are in this room, there is an expectation of moral conduct and things you're allowed to do and things you're not allowed to do. And so we at Lindell TV, myself as a journalist when I was originally invited, we agree to those things because we care about our country, we care about our men and women, and we have ethics and morals.
None of the questions I wanted answers got answered. They're not asking questions about the immorality and war crime culpability of this Pentagon under Donald Trump. They're not asking questions to get to the bottom of Leaky Pete texting war plans to unauthorized journalists. They're not asking those questions. They are there specifically to disseminate the line from the Pentagon that they want broadcast. Propaganda. That's who these people are. They're not looking for truth. They're not looking to uphold the law. They're looking for clout for themselves and to broadcast propaganda from the administration. The other question I might want to know is, does Laura Loomer have like size 24 shoes? Does she secretly have a foot the size of Shaquille O'Neal? Because if you go back through that video and just look at the size of those giant skis that she has, good Lord, Laura. So let's do that. Let's start with Laura Loomer, who in the background of that video was propped up on those platforms. And she tweeted this yesterday, again, ignoring the war crime story, not reporting on that from her new office inside the Pentagon. She said, not a bad day for my first day on the job. Here's another one. The Washington Post and this journalist used to occupy this desk inside the Pentagon press room. Now it's mine. Yeah. Joey Manarino, I don't know who this dipshit is. I see him all over Twitter. Again, he's just a guy who wants attention for himself. He's a guy who tweets as a black lady, like has a burner account and then tweets. I'll have to find those. Let me write that down. Black lady tweets. A real dipshit. He says, here for New Media Week at the Pentagon, they've given me a press pass here at the Department of War. Let the fun begin. What fun beginning do you mean, Joey Manarino? Cam Higbee, another conspiracy theorist, wild, insane conspiracy theorist on Twitter. He says, I can confirm the former Washington Post Pentagon desk is now the Fearless Media desk. He's off to a bad start. That is not the Washington Post desk. That was the Bloomberg desk. I looked for a correction about the tweet. There was no correction. Real journalist. But he would have you know, it doesn't matter that he doesn't know anything about journalism. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have a journalism degree. He's there. You can criticize me for not having a journalism degree, but what does it say about the folks with degrees that I replaced them at the Pentagon? I don't think that's the own that you think it is, Cam Higbee. It says that the Pentagon wants lackeys and idiots to cover them, people who will uncritically repeat propaganda from the regime of Donald Trump. You are but a toady. You are a useful idiot for this administration. And then this list would not be complete without this guy. I don't know who he is, R.C. Maxwell. He works for Turning Point USA, the organization founded by the racist, Christian nationalist bigot, Charlie Kirk. He says the Pentagon cubicle that used to belong to the Dan Lamothe, I don't know how to say his name, is now mine. Out with the propagandist says, and hacks, says the hack. In with truth tellers who love America. And let me say this before I leave on this topic. What does loving America mean when you don't hold her accountable for the crimes she commits against other human beings, whether they be American or whether they be Venezuelan nationals? What does it mean to love your country when you don't hold the officials who run the country to the vows, the solemn oaths they've taken to the Constitution? The Fifth Amendment, which protects your natural right to due process. The 14th Amendment, Section 1, which guarantees due process to all persons, not citizens, all persons. What does it mean to love your country? They think loving the country is obeying Donald Trump. I hate to break it to you, simps and suckers and losers and ass kissers, grundle butter drinkers. That's not loving your country. I also will note, none of the people that I've talked about here today have actually served their country. They talk about patriotism. They talk about love of country, but they didn't do the thing that they act like you need to do to be patriotic. Physical cowards and weaklings, simps. who just want proximity to power, who want to seek that attention, to seek those clicks on Twitter. Clout chasing idiots. Every single one, even the ones not pictured, like Mike Lindell. We're settled on that, right? That wasn't Mike Lindell. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video, whether that be Facebook or YouTube. It is free to subscribe on YouTube. It is free to like and follow the page on Facebook, Dollemore Daily. Please do that. You can also comment below.
President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health.
After days and days and days and days and days of asking for the MRI results, the secret MRI that Donald Trump had, of all the denials that there was anything to show, after he didn't know what was scanned, but he knows whatever was scanned was perfect. He does know it wasn't the brain, though. He knows that. They finally released not the MRI results, not the MRI. They released a doctor's note for Donald Trump. A very carefully worded doctor's note that leaves more questions than answers to questions. Let's just start with Caroline Leavitt yesterday in the press briefing room of the United States White House, lying, covering for Donald Trump's clear physical and cognitive decline by reading directly from the doctor's note.
Danny.
Follow up on the MRI, because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail, and in the effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered today. So there you go.
Of course, it wasn't the only notice from the White House. The White House also tweeted about this. They said, President Donald J. Trump's advanced imaging results, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. What's interesting to this is Captain Sean Barbabella, and it flies in the face of earlier health condition alerts on Donald Trump years ago when they said that he had heart disease. Now, apparently that's been cured, all cured. Apparently he got in one of those med beds, the alien technology med beds that he promoted the AI video of on Truth Social. There's a few things here I want to talk about, though, that really are alarming because they didn't give us answers. This is very carefully worded. My bet would be a lawyer gave some edits to this to make sure that everything is on the up and up and just nebulous enough for the rubes to not question. But for anybody with a critical eye, that's not going to work. They say advanced imaging was performed because men of his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. Advanced imaging was performed. They don't specifically say what was imaged. They do say, well, advanced imaging was performed because this needs to be looked at, but they don't specifically say that was looked at. The purpose of this imaging is preventative to identify any early issues, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. None of that is an answer. None of that says, this is what we scanned and this is what we found. And then she says, and again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail. And in the effort of transparency, after stonewalling and lying and obfuscating for days, if not weeks, now all of a sudden we gave it to you. Oh, shower us with praise. Delight in our transparency, says Caroline Levitt. And in an effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered it today. So there you go. And in true cult fashion, the MAGAverse exploded with delight, exploded with praise of the cult leader, explaining to everyone, we knew it, see? We knew he was healthy. We knew he was godlike in his health. This is Eric Daugherty, whatever his conspiracy theory, clout chasing attention seeker on Twitter. Breaking, he says. Caroline Levitt just stunned the fake news by releasing President Trump's MRI results on the spot. On the spot, only after having taken days and days and days and days and days and days to do so. She just released him right on the spot after weeks of asking for him. And he's in amazing health with all capital letters. Knew it. Eric, do you watch him walk? Do you see that he has a hard time even staying awake, brother? Well, what do you mean you knew it? Right now, my team has it. Their obsession over this was pathetic. Another baseless theory around Trump's health busted. All right. Well, I don't think uncritically about things. I don't nurse from the teat of Donald Trump. So I have questions when we witness all of this that you've just heard juxtaposed against what Donald Trump just said the other day when asked about his MRI.
They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor Walz, you mean the incompetent governor? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What was the reason they were
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it or if you want to release it, you want to have it released.
Yes,
News Nation, failing News Nation.
No, sir,
News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Please, can you tell us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
Does that seem transparent to you? Does that seem healthy to you? Does that seem cognitively together to you? He doesn't know what they scanned, but it wasn't his brain. He knows that. Also, whatever they did scan that he doesn't know what it is, it was perfect, right? 2 points. Oh, and one more thing. Hey, journalist, you couldn't pass the Alzheimer's test that I took and take unusually regularly for a guy who doesn't have any cognitive problems. Gotcha. But Eric Daugherty, whatever your name is, we'll just call you Daughtry, like the American Idol singer. That's not how anything works, brother. Donald Trump is in clear, self-evident decline. To anybody who's not just a propagandist, and the doctor's note isn't changing anybody's hearts and minds. It will reassure the people who yearn for Donald Trump to live to be 180 years old. But to the rest of us, we still have a lot of questions about the clear physical problems that Donald Trump has. What happened to the venous insufficiency? That's not even mentioned in the doctor's note. What about the previous mentions of heart disease, early onset, which doesn't mean he's getting ready to croak from his heart, but it means when you get to this age and you eat McDonald's like it's an IV piped into your veins, you're going to have heart problems. When you don't exercise like Donald Trump does not exercise. Donald Trump believes, and this is not me being a shit, Donald Trump believes that the body is like a battery, that exercise depletes the battery and you die sooner. He has a wild anti-science understanding of all kinds of very simple things. So the MAGA ignores all of that, but those of us who are rational refuse to. And because, unfortunately, he is the president of the United States, we need consistency in our government. We need to be able to rely on the fact that our president is not just going to die, which might, because of chaos, cause another country that might have opportunistic attitudes about seeking power to attack us. That's why we need a strong president, not a strong man, a strong president, a good leader, a decent person who understands the import of the job, of the position, of servant leadership. Anyway, I'll leave it there. What do you think? All kinds of papers here. Good Lord. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it.
The man is almost 80, but he's also a machine. I mean, he barely sleeps, he works around the clock, and he constantly talks to the press.
So it's not just right-wing dipshits and cult members and blindly loyal sycophants like Eric Daughtry and Caroline Leavitt and these other people who try to promote the myth that Donald Trump is strong like bull. He is as strong as an ox. He's a vital alpha man that can't be stopped by clear obesity. He can't be stopped by vainish insufficiency. He can't be stopped by self-evident cognitive decline. He is too strong for all of that. Alzheimer's, it cowers in the presence of Donald Trump's alphaness. It's not just the dipshits like that. It's also legacy mainstream media that covers for him. And look, you might not think Fox News is mainstream media, but they're the most popular cable news channel, maybe in the world. And they're sending their anchors out there to convince the unwashed, low information horde of viewers that Donald Trump is A-OK. Not just A-OK, but a machine. And the machine, you'll never believe this. Machine who never sleeps. This dipshit went on Fox News and with not a shred of dignity, not a shred of shame, said those words that Donald Trump, I can look past the machine thing, but we've all witnessed Donald Trump falling asleep in the White House, in his chair, in meetings, overseas. The guy can't keep his fucking eyes open, but they want America to believe that he's a machine who never sleeps.
The New York Times claiming that he's slowed down and he's showing signs of fatigue. Americans see Mr. Trump less than they used to. He has fewer public events on his schedule and is traveling domestically much less than he did by this point during his first year in office, although he is taking more foreign trips. He also keeps a shorter public schedule than he used to. Most of his public appearances fall between noon and 5 p.m. on average. Well, the man is almost 80, but he's also a machine. I mean, he barely sleeps, he works around the clock, and he constantly talks to the press. And meanwhile, Biden always slept, worked sometimes, and never talked to the press unless they're asking him about ice cream flavors. But some people are still living in opposite world when it comes to these two presidents.
President Biden was active on the weekends, especially riding his bike in Rehoboth Beach. No one denied that with President Biden, that he had his moments of being 80 or 82, whatever it was. In this case, the White House is not willing to even acknowledge that the president is showing obvious signs of age-related decline. One, he might take trips overseas in Air Force One. That doesn't substitute for the lack of physical activity. There's a reason to be worried based on his public performance.
Well, Biden also fell off that stationary bike. So here to discuss it is Clay Travis, Outkick founder and Fox News contributor. I mean,
where do they find these people? Who are these people who don't mind debasing themselves? Embarrassing them. That is a humiliating clip to now live on the internet forever. I'm so glad I got it. I do, as an aside, it has nothing to do with this. I just thought of this because I'm talking about clips that now exist on the internet. I think I'm the only person who has this particular clip of Ainsley Earhart saying that she's so tired of protecting the minority in this country. What about the majority?
I do want to say that it is because we protect the rights of the minority, and listen, we have separation of church and state in this country.
What about the majority?
Okay, the majority.
I'm so tired of protecting the minority. What about the majority? Okay, the majority. I'm so tired of protecting the minority.
And I love to play that clip because I think I'm the only one who has it. It has been scrubbed from all of Fox News's websites, all of their streaming platforms, from their YouTube channel, from their Facebook page. It is gone. So it's nice that I can assist the internet in remembering these things. But speaking of remembering these things, see what I did? I set myself up with a sweet little segue. We remember that Donald Trump is not well. We remember that Donald Trump is not a machine. If he is, it's a broken machine, to be sure. We will not forget all of the many, 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 many times that Donald Trump has not just dozed off in a meeting, but absolutely PFO'd. I'll let you do the math on that acronym. Donald Trump is just a crash out monster. He has fallen asleep at every turn. While people are talking to him about him, his favorite thing, he cannot help but fall asleep. Remember during the 9/11 ceremony where he had the stroke mouth and he was strokey McStroke face, can't even stay awake during the reading of the names during a 9/11 memorial. You know, this famous lover of New York City and constant talker about never forgetting. Apparently, he was forgetting to stay awake.
Hilda E. Taylor. Lieutenant Colonel Kip P. Taylor, United States Army. Leonard E. Taylor. Sandra C. Taylor. Sandra D. Teague.
And even, it's not even that. Even in the Oval Office with Dr. Oz yammering on and on about sleepy people and Alzheimer's, even that couldn't keep him awake, as you see him in the background there, just completely checking out.
And the wonderful work of Amy Brandt, who has a fraud war room using this kind of technology, because we'll know who you are and who your doctor is, so we can block this. We're going to have remarkable advances in how consumers can use their own records. We'll have beneficiaries be able to get MAHA advice and prevention tips and even be able to nudge them and reward them perhaps for that. And all this comes back to one fundamental issue, Mr. President, which is leadership. I think 60 people, the biggest, the best, the willing, came forward because of your leadership, because you weren't going to take no for an answer, and they know it. We are building a robust and safe, I emphasize that, safe system. It's going to protect the data better than we could have imagined. We're going to be able to accomplish goals that all of us wished from day one that would be in place. These pledges are now confirmed. They're signed in public. And you have therefore empowered Americans to own their property, which is their medical records. Let me introduce Amy Gleason. She is acting director of DOJ, U.S. Digital Service as well, and was actually the brilliant woman who pulled together the pieces of this puzzle with so many members of the audience.
So tell me again, Fox News goon, tell us all again what a machine Donald Trump is and how little sleep he needs. Maybe he doesn't need sleep at night while he's tweeting hundreds and hundreds of times because he got all the sleep he needed during the day while he's supposed to be president and working in the Oval Office. Maybe that's it. Hell, I don't know. Who am I? Who am I to judge? Who among us is to judge Donald Trump and the sleepy nature that is just inherent. It is latent. It is just within him to take serious octogenarian naps during the workday. What do you think? I invite you to this raucous conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it. If you're on Facebook, like and follow the Facebook page. We are Dollemore Daily over there. We are growing. We're approaching 40,000, which is makes me feel very good having 1 million point almost 3 on YouTube and 35,000 on Facebook. Make it make sense. Help me out, Zuckerberg. He's not going to be helping me out. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. You can comment below or call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please, if you like the cut of my jib, this is it, right? This is the jib, the cut of the jib. If you like what I do, if you prefer my bombasticness or the way I present or whatever, please consider supporting this channel in independent media and the work we do. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a channel member on YouTube. Click the join button below, become a channel member, or you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, or just go to dollemore.com and check out all of that stuff. We've kind of been revamping the website. We got a bunch of products that we sell, It's not like vitamins and shit. We sell t-shirts and stickers and tote bags and mugs with the logos of the different things that we create. We also sell a children's book, which my best friend wrote last year. I wrote the foreword to. It is about gratitude. It is not just a children's book for children, but it's a children's book for adults, maybe a gift to your parents for you to say thank you. Christmas is coming up. I'm rambling a whole bunch right now, but go check it out. In fact, here, I'll leave you with this. Here's a little bit about the book, and I would really encourage you to check it out. Many of you are aware that my dear friend and brother of choice, not of blood, Brett McAfee, suffered a near fatal medical emergency last summer while our families were on vacation in Scotland. I appreciate to no end the outpouring of support for Brett that you all gave. And I'm also very happy to report that he is safe and healing and working that long path of recovery. What I've probably not told you about Brett is that beyond being an excellent friend, he's also a talented writer. We have been the best of friends since we were kids, and I have been continually inspired by his creativity and by the truly singular take that he has on life. Over 2 decades ago, he wrote a poem called The Grateful Child. It's an acknowledgement of all the simple strengths that we tend to overlook. Written from the perspective of a young person, multiple grateful children express gratitude to their parents for the elements that make them who they are. The accounting of these everyday gifts inspires a clear reminder that we should not take anything for granted. I've shared Brett's remarkable poem with numerous people over the years, and a reoccurring response is that this should be a book. Well, we finally decided to listen to those people. The Grateful Child is not only a children's book for adults in your life, it's also an adult's book for children in your life. Everyone will appreciate its straightforward yet elegant celebration of life's little endowments. Click the link below to pre-order now, or simply scan this QR code and order your copy or copies today. But this being an illustrated book, we could not survive on the words alone. To pair with Brett's touching words, we searched all over for an illustrator who could bring the Grateful Child to visual life. We landed on somebody right here in the community from this show. Leah Farshid is an internationally acclaimed illustrator who, like you, is also an audience member. The moment we saw the first images that Leah drew to accompany Brett's text, we knew we had a perfect combination. It brings me tremendous joy to share my best friend's beautiful poem and Leah's spectacular images with the world. Everyone can benefit from The Grateful Child, just as I benefit from Brett's lifelong friendship. Share this beautiful book with your children. Share it with your parents or other relatives. The Grateful Child is an easy and exceptional way to show appreciation for someone in your life, young or old. Support someone you love and support this channel by giving The Grateful Child. Click the link below to pre-order now, or simply scan this QR code. I am pretty sure your children need a copy, and your mom, your nieces and your nephews, your Grandpa Charlie too. Don't forget Grandpa Charlie. I think he'd love this. Make the grateful child a part of your life. It has been such an excellent part of mine.
This guy is so unqualified for the job. He runs around on a stage like he's a 12-year-old playing Army. And it is ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And I can't imagine what our allies think.
So when the administration commits a war crime, allegedly, when Donald Trump is alleged to be a murderer and a war criminal, when Pete Hegseth is the same, rather than actually deal with the controversy and the decisions they've made, they run to try to punish people who are critical of them. People who have lived their entire adult life in service to this country, like Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, he's a little bit too middle of the road for me relative to Democratic politics. I still have a lot of respect for him. I still think he's great. I still think that we all should aspire to be the public servant that he is, that he has been, that he has proven himself to be. Navy captain, combat fighter pilot, has taken fire in combat. Astronaut, has been in space multiple times. United States Senator, the husband of a former congresswoman who almost lost her life to political violence in service to her country, Gabby Giffords. American hero story. These are like made-for-TV movie types of lives we're talking about. And they want to take him out because he criticizes war crimes. He acknowledges the danger of this administration and admonishes active duty troops to follow only legal orders. And for that, they want to punish him. Well, yesterday, Mark Kelly, the same Mark Kelly, and I don't throw the word hero around a lot, by the way. You got to do something special to be called heroic, even, in my mind. I think we've lowered the bar. This is an aside, has nothing to do with the video, but here we are. I think we've lowered the bar for hero. Just because you put on a badge and you thump people with your nightstick or kill them, unarmed black men in the street, doesn't make you a fucking hero. Just because you put on a fire hat doesn't make you a hero. Actions make you a hero. Not lack of fear, but action in the face of fear in a critical moment. That's what makes you a hero. I'm not a hero. Never have been a hero, right? Mark Kelly, I believe, is. So Mark Kelly gave a speech yesterday, like 38 minutes long, talking about his role in this and his criticisms of what's going on. And there's two moments that I want to highlight for you. One is him, the overarching thing, he's just burning Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump right to the ground with accuracy and experience and understanding of the things he's talking about. He's not there to clout chase. He's not there for clicks. He's there to communicate to the American people the clear and present danger that is posed by Donald Trump and his ass-lick Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, his white Christian nationalist Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, his attender of a church that wants the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, repealed, parishioner Pete Hegseth. We'll start with Mark Kelly's comments about Donald Trump.
I will not be intimidated by this president. I am not going to be silenced by this president or the people around him, because I've given too much in service to this country to back down to this guy. In 1991, when Donald Trump was driving the Taj Mahal casino into bankruptcy, I was getting shot at over Iraq and Kuwait. In 2001, after Donald Trump said that the collapse of the Twin Towers meant he now owned the tallest skyscraper in Manhattan, I was carrying flags honoring 9/11 victims into space on a rocket ship. In 2003, when Donald Trump was writing birthday greetings to the monster Jeffrey Epstein, I was the first on the scene to recover the bodies of my fellow astronauts who died when Space Shuttle Columbia exploded during re-entry. In 2011, when Trump was hosting a reality show and peddling conspiracy theories against President Barack Obama, I was sitting next to my wife's hospital bed as she recovered from a gunshot wound to the head. My point is this: I've been through a lot worse in service to my country. The president and Pete Hegseth are not going to silence me.
I think maybe he's contemplating running for president. And it would be good. We need more voices in the conversation for sure. But what he's saying is 100% accurate. And he's doing it with a little bit of flair, juxtaposing his service against Donald Trump's. It's brilliant. It works. It plays. Even MAGA world understands and respects service to country. They might not actively do it under the auspices of the direction of their dear leader, the cult leader, Donald Trump. But in their minds, at their core, it is in them to respect service and sacrifice. It just is. It's been programmed into us through propaganda our entire lives. While Donald Trump was bankrupt in a casino, I was taking fire in combat. Donald Trump is a draft dodger. I love it. I'm here for it. I wish I had a part in crafting these types of messages for these politicians. We need more aggressive messages. We need more bombacity from our leaders in politics. In this day and age, it might not have played 20 years ago, but it certainly plays today. And we need to play the game by the rules that have been set by the opposition, because they're not following standard traditional rules. They don't care about what's normal. They don't care about customs and tradition. So we need to do that. And in this next clip, he doesn't just take Donald Trump to task. He goes straight for the jugular of Pete Hegseth, calling him a child. That his experience pales in comparison to that of Navy fighter pilot, captain in the United States Navy, which is a full bird colonel in the other services, astronaut Mark Kelly, United States Senator Mark Kelly. That go away, little boy, let the adults in the room lead.
This guy is so unqualified for the job. I mean, think about this. He runs around on a stage talking about lethality and warrior ethos and killing people. We have the most competent, capable military this planet has ever seen by far. That's not the message that needs to come from the Secretary of Defense. The message should be about what's our mission and accountability and the rule of law and training. And let me make sure you're equipped to do really hard jobs. Let me give you all the tools you need to do something that often is an impossible mission. And instead, he runs around on a stage like he's a 12-year-old playing Army. And it is ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And I can't imagine what our allies think of looking at that guy in this job, one of the most important jobs in our country. In my view, after the President of the United States, it is the next most important job. He is in the National Command Authority for Nuclear Weapons. And last night, he's putting out on the internet turtles with rocket-propelled grenades. Have you seen this? This is the Secretary of Defense. This is not a serious person. He should have been fired after Signalgate. And then every single day after that.
Pete Hegseth should have been fired after Signalgate. Pete Hegseth should be fired now. Pete Hegseth should be, and I hope will be, impeached, convicted, and removed from office. And as part of that, the United States Senate, if we get a large enough majority, also has under its authority during an impeachment trial to disqualify running for a federal office ever again. And that's what they should do. Pete Hegseth, because of the war crimes that he allegedly committed, should be impeached, convicted, and removed, and disqualified from further public office. Donald Trump, the same thing should happen. But if we have to start with the small fries first, let's do that. Mark Kelly, I'm here for this messaging, sir. Good job. Somebody from Arizona, get him on the horn. Let's get him on the show. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it, whether that be Facebook or YouTube. When capitalism is rising up to gobble up Donald Trump, the passionate defender of capitalism, it should tell you everything you need to know about what Donald Trump's policies are doing to business. More of this, please. More of this. Before I start this story, you already know what it's about. You've seen the thumbnail. You've seen the title that Costco is now suing the Trump administration for their illegal tariffs, right? I want to say this. This isn't some kind of a fanboy letter, love letter to Costco. Costco is a corporation that doesn't give a single shit about you. They care about your wallet. And the reason they're suing the Trump administration for this illegal tariff policy, this illegal power grab, this abdication of its role in Congress to actually regulate trade and tariffs, the reason they're doing it is because it's hurting their bottom line. They are holding the line right now relative to pricing. They say in this article multiple times to protect the consumer, to protect the customer, but it's because protecting the customer in this case protects their bottom line. It does eventually is going to lead to more customer loyalty. I don't hate Costco. I think Costco's great. I have a Costco membership, but I want it to be very clear that this isn't Costco being patriotic. This is Costco doing what is good for them in this capitalist makeup that we have. Okay? I think that's very important because also it should signal to conservatives that Costco, titan of capitalism, is unhappy with Donald Trump and his insanity right now. This is the headline from the New York Times, from the NBC News. Costco sues the Trump administration seeking a refund of tariffs. The wholesaler is the latest company to sue a federal agency over the president's signature economic policy. Costco Wholesale has sued the Trump administration, asking the Court of International Trade to consider all tariffs collected under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act unlawful. You're going to hear the International Emergency Economic Powers Act talked about several times throughout this article, but it's going to be an acronym, IEPA. So when you hear that, know that it's the International International Emergency Economic Powers Act, okay? The company said in a filing Friday that it is seeking a, quote, full refund of all duties under the act paid as a result of President Donald Trump's executive order that imposed what he called reciprocal tariffs. Because IEPA does not clearly authorize the president to set tariffs, the challenged tariff orders cannot stand, and the defendants are not authorized to implement and collect them. Costco's lawyer writes in the lawsuit, the Supreme Court is reviewing the legality of Trump's sweeping tariff agenda. In oral arguments in early November, justices appeared skeptical about the government's case to let them continue. And not just the liberal justices, the lone, the three, the handful, the third of the court that is liberal. We are talking about Gorsuch and the Alito, I think. There were, the conservatives on the court were very skeptical about Donald Trump's power, which is shocking because they bend the knee on everything else. Costco does not say in the filing how much the duties have cost the company. Importers have paid nearly $90 billion under the IEPA law, according to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection data through late September. In May, on Costco's earnings call, though, Chief Financial Officer Gary Millerchip told investors that about a third of Costco's sales in the United States are imported products. Millerchip said items imported from China represented about 8% of the total U.S. sales. Millerchip said that while Costco was seeing a direct impact from tariffs on imports on some fresh food items from Central and South America, it decided not to increase prices, quote, because they are key staple items for its customers. Some of those fresh food items included pineapples and bananas. We essentially held the price on those to make sure that we're protecting the member, he said. They mean Costco's members. You have to be a member. Like you have a little membership card with your picture on it to get in. And then They accost you on the way out, checking to make sure that their members didn't steal anything from them. It's a business based on trust, y'all. In September, Millership told analysts, we continue to work closely with our suppliers to find ways to mitigate the impact of tariffs, including moving the country of production where it makes sense and consolidating our buying efforts globally to lower the cost of goods across all markets. Through the end of October, the government had collected, get a load of this number. Through the end of October, the United States government, had collected $205 billion in tariffs. $205,000 million. That you're paying. The end user pays the tariff that gets passed on to them by the person who's importing the good, the American company, the American person who is importing the goods, the American company like Costco who imports the goods and either has to eat that tariff, but the vast majority of companies pass it on to the consumer. They're not doing it because they don't want to lose business by passing it on to the consumer. They still want to be known as the low-cost wholesaler in this business. With Friday's lawsuit, Costco becomes the latest major company to seek tariff refunds through the courts. They're not the only one. Global cosmetics giant Revlon, eyeglass maker Essilor Luxottica, I think that's Luxottica. Not an eyeglass wearer that's not Warby Parker. Motorcycle manufacturer Kawasaki, canned good food seller Bumblebee, Japanese auto supplier Yokohama Tire, and many smaller firms have also filed similar suits. While we wait for the Supreme Court, I think it is prudent for businesses like this to take this to court. I mean, they could be filing amicus briefs with the court to lend their support for the lawsuit that is currently before them. I don't know if it's too late for that. Not a lawyer, don't know. But let me tell you, Donald Trump, when capitalism is rising up to gobble up Donald Trump, the passionate defender of capitalism, it should tell you everything you need to know about what Donald Trump's policies are doing to business. And by virtue of that, to the economy of the United States. Hopefully, at some point, MAGA starts waking up. These companies that aren't your friend, they're a friend of dollars. They're a friend of making money, of accumulating profit and capital. They are turning against Donald Trump. It should tell you everything. Costco is not some woke, liberal political organization. They are a cog in the capitalist machine that wants to accumulate and hoard as much wealth as they can. Wake up, MAGA. Donald Trump's not a friend of the economy. He's a friend of his billionaire class people who want to grift and make as much money as they can while harming the United States economy at large. Anyway, my voice is starting to go. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below. I'm sure we can disagree agreeably. I haven't said that in a long time, so I said it wrong. I'm sure we can disagree if we do agreeably in the comments. I know how YouTube comment sections are. Very peaceful. Never name calling. Never weirdos. Never aggression. Never... Anyway, I can't even get through it. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. If you appreciate what I do, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like and follow the Facebook page. And if you want to become a channel member, you can do it on YouTube by clicking the join button or go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.